my time, think it's my year, yeah.
The morning show. It's Thursday. You know what we're going to talk about. Obviously, a little company that starts with N and ends in NVDA. That's the top story of the day. It's the top thing of the day across markets. So let's talk about that. We'll have some other stuff as well. It won't be just an NVIDIA show, I promise. But we have to at least talk about that. So our guest today, new guest, Brett Kenwell from eToro. He's our options strategist. He'll be on at around 9 o'clock or so. And we'll have, let's see, it's Thursday, so we'll have Sean on the show as well, as we do every Thursday. Good morning, chat. Good morning, Chris, Ryan, Brasup. What's up, Brasup? Adam, Yosul, James, Mary, Donovan, T-Core, Bernard, Grumpy Trade in the house. What's up? What's up? How we doing, everyone? You don't want to hear me blabber. Let's bring on JC. Let's bring on Steve, and let's go.
Hey now. Oh, who's got the bull market shirt on? Who's got it on?
So I kept waking up in the middle of the night last night for whatever reason. I wake up all disturbed and I would think to myself, it's still a bull market. And I would fall right back asleep and be so happy.
Hey.
Listen, I'll tell you what, it's certainly still a bull market in I don't know about the United States, but in Germany and Japan, very impressive. May I remind everybody that Germany and Japan loaded up with industrial stocks. Not a lot of tech in those countries.
That's okay, though. That's okay.
Nobody said it isn't. I'm saying that's really impressive. You know,
there's like two separate things going on, right? You got the industrials thing, and then you got the AI thing, which is its own.
I don't know about the AI thing, but why are bonds continuing to crash? What's going on there?
You still don't know about the AI thing? Like 4 quarters into it? NVIDIA is now making more money in a quarter, or about the same amount of money in a quarter as it made in entire fiscal year 2022.
I want to hear about that. I'm actually generally interested in this AI thing that all the kids are talking about. So why don't you hit that bumper and let's get into the markets?
Yeah, we're strong with NVIDIA. We're doing it.
All right, let's just do a quick little rundown. Dow futures up 188 points. It's about 50, almost 0.5%. S&P futures back above 5,000, 1.3% on the day, 65 points on the S&P 500. NASDAQ futures up 2%. Last time the market was open, which was yesterday, the NASDAQ futures were hitting the lowest level since January. Now up 2% pre-market. Let's see how that closes the week. That could be very interesting. Bond futures down again. Bonds just can't stop crashing. Interest rates continue higher. Really, really interesting. Silver flat, oil flat, gold flat, copper flat. Nothing happening there in the commodity space. Dollar, definitely a big one. Dollar index futures down again. So after 7 consecutive weeks of dollar index futures up, we now have the dollar index down all week, well off its lows from last night. If you've been following the dollar, well off its lows, but still down nevertheless. In the funny money, Bitcoin down 1%, right around 51,000. Ethereum down about 0.5%, just under 3,000. And total crypto market cap right around what? 1.9 trillion. Solana down again, right around 103.
But Ethereum, like how impressive, how strong, been the leader now over the short term. So that's interesting, right?
Would you classify Ethereum as a leader?
Over the short term?
No. I guess. Maybe over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. It's Solana. That's the interesting one. Notice how Bitcoin made new highs.
Ethereum
made new highs. Solana has not.
I had an old alert of Solana at 100. I never took off. Woke me up last night.
You have,
dipped
you
it,
have
That's
crypto alerts going off in the middle of the night. That's
That's
crazy,
what
dude.
woke you up.
kissed it, came right off of it.
All right, let's see.
All right. Well, let's talk about this NVIDIA.
Yeah.
here.
What? So tell me. So somebody who doesn't know anything about AI or chips or Taiwan or anything like that.
Yeah.
What does this mean to me? Other than the fact that it hit our target last week and setting up again.
Okay, so obviously the numbers are what they are. They blew it away across the board. What's interesting to me is
Can we
not.
Yeah. You want to just read the
What?
headline?
I mean, yeah, I mean their EPS, adjusted EPS, $5.16 versus a $4.64 estimate. Sales $22.1 billion versus a $20.6 billion estimate. But here's what I would say about the estimates, right? Beating the estimates is one thing. Beating your own guidance is quite another, in my opinion. Their own guidance was 20. We will make 20 billion this quarter. Nope, it was 22. Just a cool, and they're the ones that have the best insight into their business, and they're beating themselves, right? So, data center revenue, which is the story here, JC. That's what everyone's watching.
What does that mean? Data center revenues.
So they have multiple business lines, right? Because their chips are used for multiple things. They have a gaming unit and they have a data center unit. And the data centers, that's where the AI magic happens, in the data centers, right? So that's where all these AI models function, basically, right? Data center revenue up to $18.4 billion. Just a cool 400% year-over-year increase. No big deal there. Yeah, Steve, what else you got?
It's become an incredible operating leverage story. The company has 75% gross profit margins.
Yeah.
If you ever said that to somebody, they would assume you're talking about software. These guys make actual physical things. They're very heavy, they tell me. They're making real things you could touch, hardware. Hardware companies don't have 75% gross profit margins. Like, they just continue to rewrite the rules and beat everything in a huge way. And I get what you're saying, but you know, a seasoned CEO like Jensen Huang at this point, he's going to beat his guide. The impressive thing is, what did the street really need? Like, what did investors need to see? Because you're right, none of the estimates, whether it's the companies or Wall Street's, is really what they're up against. It's, does the stock go up on this news? And
that's true.
I don't know if you saw, like in the research chat, as soon as the report came out, the initial reaction was lower. And I was sending a couple pings in the research chat about just how ridiculous this report is. And I'm thinking to myself, if they're not buying this thing, like what do we need? What else does the market need for stock, for line to go up? And then they kind of corrected it, and now it's rallying. But the report was so impressive. It's when the market stops being impressed that you need to worry.
Great point. Great point. Yeah, and the data center revenue, again, year over year, obviously we knew it would be a huge beat because this same quarter last year, they didn't have the AI thing happening. But quarter over quarter, it's still, the rate is still increasing. It's crazy. And it's insane.
And I totally get it. All of these comments in the chat, and I was texting this to my dad last night. It won't last. You're right. 75% gross profit margins, 100%. This won't go on forever. The interesting thing now is to watch what they're doing with these strategic investments. They're trying to establish themselves and position themselves as someone who, even if they don't have to sell the chips or they don't have the hot thing that everybody needs in the future, they're a player, right? So they're taking this first mover's advantage, 25 billion in cash and cash equivalents, I think it was. Let me just double check that. No, 26 billion cash and cash equivalents. They're making investments. They're investing strategically to position themselves in a way. And think about, JC said it last time, they have all the information. Who's doing the coolest AI stuff, right? So they're getting into all this different stuff and trying to position themselves in a way where in the future, maybe they don't have 75% gross profit margins. I would really hope not, but they're still winning and they're still a part of this movement in a really big way. So it's tough to value a story like this, is the bottom line, but the market still likes it. And I think that's a good thing for the broader market.
Also, they gave the greatest humble brag a CEO can give on a call, which is, can't keep up with demand. Can't do it. We're trying, guys. Can't do it.
Good. So good.
Can't do it. We're behind. Sorry. Really, can't keep up.
It's really impressive. We did Hot Corner yesterday, and usually I bring like a bunch of macro charts and we do like, you know, some recent developments in the market, and then we jump in. And it was just NVIDIA, because that's what it was this week and probably next week. And in a big part for like a whole sect of this bull market, like they need to keep on performing.
And what can you tell me what types of companies they're buying, they're investing in?
The NNOX, that SoundHound.
No, I know, but like what do these companies do?
SoundHound is like an audio AI company.
Now,
and by the way,
too, it's for the cars.
Those investments were made years ago. I don't know if you know that. They weren't made recently. They were made several years ago, like pre-COVID, I think.
Can we get into what actually matters here? Can we get into the price, please?
Are you sure?
I am sure, actually, Steve, because the ARM IPO is what triggered the 13F.
Because they got over 100 milli.
Right.
Got it.
Right.
Yeah. These 13Fs, man. This is why we don't overthink them.
I know it's also 45 days old, right?
Right.
At best.
At least.
At best.
At best. Yeah. Right. Exactly. All right. Excuse my voice. We had a 3-hour technical analysis boot camp last night. So how'd I do? Not bad? Pretty good? No,
not bad. Not bad, JC. Not bad at all.
Not bad. All right. So I apologize for the voice. So here's how I see it. I mean, we've seen this. I mean, the trade was pretty clear back in December. You know, one of the things that I loved about NVIDIA is that it was the first to break out. Remember, Strazza? Before any indexes made new highs, even before semiconductors made new highs, NVIDIA was already breaking out.
It was, right? the Q1 earnings report from last year, right?
I guess you would know better than me. So this was back in December. So semis were already making new all-time highs. NVIDIA had hit our initial target near 500, consolidating sideways. I mean, you don't get a cleaner setup than this. Of course, by the breakout above 500, target near 730. That's exactly where NVIDIA stopped going up last week, right? Like literally to the penny.
Yep.
So, you know, if you're ever curious about Fibonacci and why these levels matter to us, even in NVIDIA, you definitely see it. Also, the relative strength. Look at slide 4 and 5. The relative strength's been off the charts, right? So it's been the right space. It was an early leader. Look at NVIDIA relative to Qs, which is ridiculous. Look at the long-term chart versus SPY.
Sick.
Like so. Like, and think about this.
It's hard to do this.
And think about this. Think about this. The denominator in these ratios is the best denominator of all of them. SPY and Qs. There's nothing better out there in the whole world. So the fact that this looks this good relative to SPY and Qs, wow, right? Wow. So go back to the first chart, Strazza. So for me, it was really nice to kind of just sit out of yesterday and not really worried about it. Like everyone was freaking out about NVIDIA. I really didn't care at all. You know, below 730, there was really nothing to talk about. 735, you know, there's not really anything to talk about. However, here we are, Strazza. You want to talk about a gap and go. We're above 735-ish. Woo! There's no reason not to be long, right? I mean, I want to let them dance. Let's let the dust settle here. But this is a long above 735, isn't it?
Listen, this is definitely one way to do it, and a lot of people are going to do it this way. I think this stock probably goes much higher throughout this cycle. It might be a rough path getting there. I kind of like the peer plays at this point. Like so much stuff moves in sympathy to NVIDIA. You don't have to, like even yesterday, Palo Alto gets hit, CrowdStrike's down 15%. Go buy CrowdStrike. I don't know. This is such a battleground. It's just tough for me. I think the easier money has been made. I'm not saying don't buy it. I'm saying I probably won't buy it.
I know, Strazza, but if you want the juice, don't you...
You buy risk reversals in AMD.
I know, but if you want the juice, like, do you have to go to the derivative plays? Why can't you just get leverage on NVIDIA? Like, why do you need to get cute?
When the music stops, I don't want to be dancing with NVIDIA.
So you'd rather be dancing with one of the shittier ones?
It's not that they're shittier. They haven't been up 7x.
Not as good.
It's low. Yeah. Fair, right? Fair, they might be coming up with the next AI thing, right? It might be the next NVIDIA. I don't know.
AMD is probably one to watch here, sitting at 172 here pre-market. So AMD has been, if you can call it this, it's been a laggard in the space, right? We're right in the middle of that range in AMD. So how that AMD resolves, I think, is going to be really informative. No? You think I'm overthinking the AMD, or you think that's right?
I think a week ago, we were on our analyst call, which usually starts with Sean saying, hey, I want something that's either sideways or a directional bet. And I usually throw out a name. And typically, at least, it's not just me, you, and Sean on that meeting, right? There's plenty of people on there. Typically, at least somebody will agree with me. Oh, Strazza, I like that stock. Nice chart. You'll usually say something these days like, I'd short it. I said AMD risk reversals. And I'm just staring at 8 blank faces. Nothing.
It's in the middle. It's in the middle of. It's in the middle of a range. It's in the middle of a range. There's got to be easier trades.
Probably.
It's literally smack dab in the middle of its range. After last night.
The ones that are checking back after ripping through these prior cycle highs and are now these hard retests right at them. I mean, if we were talking about this a few months ago, would have gobbled that up.
Wouldn't you rather buy the breakout at AMD instead of getting Q and try to anticipate it?
You're talking about like the little coil breakout?
I mean,
like this little coil?
Not little.
So I think I got in. Yeah, it was Wednesday.
Consolidating for a month, more than a month.
It was Wednesday, February 14th. That's why I got in. I thought it was that, right? Wednesday, February 14th looked like it was going. Now it's pulled back a bit, held the risk level at the prior cycle highs. We'll see. It's still not resolved yet. I get what you're saying, but
it's in the middle of a range.
I put it on thinking we were getting that resolution last week.
And we haven't yet. But, okay, forget your trade. Just generally speaking, I think for the space, that AMD resolution is going to be really informative, no?
Absolutely. These things need to hold up, right? Like yesterday was a rough one, losing Palo Alto as one of these just ridiculous leaders. But now NVIDIA kind of...
Would you include Palo Alto as a ridiculous leader? Yeah, probably.
Palo Alto, look at the way the rest of the space crumbled.
Oh, you're right. You're
next
right.
to it. Palo Alto is the NVIDIA of cyber.
Whoa. The NVIDIA of cyber.
Yeah, their CEO, he screwed the pooch a little bit. Should talk less on these calls, maybe.
The NVIDIA CEO is the man?
Yeah, Jensen Huang's great. Palo Alto guy probably said some things he regrets saying.
Really?
Tough times ahead, blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't say that. You got to say things like, we can't keep up with demand. Sorry.
Right.
Can you throw up slide 2, Spencer? Speaking of tight consolidations, this is something we've been talking about and eyeing as well. Goldman Sachs is trading like it got acquired.
This is historic volatility crush in this name. Go back, zoom out. I use the Bollinger Band 20s. This is wild, dude. This is really cool. If you think about what's going on in the rest of the space, how these other banks are looking, this thing is coiled so tightly.
Yeah, I mean, I think Goldman Sachs and I think that AMD, these are two big names consolidating in a tight range. I think it's going to be really informative how these things resolve now.
Rachel says, yeah, Palo Alto's not the NVIDIA of cyber, but they buy everything in cyber. So if they buy everything good in their space, but they're not the industry leader, I don't know who is. They also have like 4 times the cash balance of CrowdStrike, so they could do a lot more. Yeah, listen, I like banks a lot. Banks are fantastic here. They look really good. They've held in through the latest, they just
got back to their 21 highs. Like, now you're going to buy financials? Like, the time was in November.
No. It's just becoming that time.
By the way, regional banks are the worst performing small cap sector since they peaked in December.
Again, of course they are. They almost lost one. We know how that goes. Drags the whole space down.
I know. I mean, if you're going to buy any stocks, you're going to buy banks. Like, I mean, I like the metals trade. I know we're going to talk about Nucor. Can you throw up slide 7? So I bought some Nucor yesterday. I love that these base metals have been left for dead. Copper, as of like 10 days ago, looked terrible and has made quite the move higher. Very impressive. So with volatility at nothing and a base like this, you can go out to 2025. I like that trade. I like that trade a lot.
Yeah, we got involved yesterday. Now let's actually see one of these things work. I've gotten involved in a couple different commodity stock charts that look like this over the past few months.
Well, I mean, the big question was like, listen, we're seeing rotation into energy, we're seeing crude oil making moves, outperforming stocks, et cetera, but nothing from the base metal complex. So the question was like, all right, can you get the strength from energy and not see it in other places in commodities? I guess we're getting the answer to that question, right?
I think we need to, right? Like this action from energy over the last week, really encouraging. About time.
I think you need. That's right.
The materials, like you said, slowly getting it together. It always starts with the leaders, which is why even if we weren't long this setup, we'd be looking at this chart. Nucor, Reliance Steel, Steel Dynamics, Southern Copper, like the best looking charts in materials need to break out and look more like the best looking charts from other sectors. Then we can start to look down the cap scale and into other subgroups and materials and say, okay, this is really working, but it's going to start with these guys.
Let me ask a noob question here, because it applies to this and to NVIDIA. When you're talking about the first stock or group of stocks to break out, right? Is the implication there that this is the strongest, or that this is also going to be the first one to stop, or both?
Yeah, not the latter.
Not the latter.
Not the latter.
Okay.
And it might be true, but every cycle is different. Like the stocks that kicked it all off for COVID were actually the ones that were still working towards the end. So sometimes that rotation happens in a big way, and the leaders from the beginning are not the leaders at the end. What have you seen, JC? You know more about past cycles. Can you stay?
I don't think that there's like a hard, fast rule. I think that in some cases the leaders peak early. Like for example, in February 21, the ARK funds peaked in February.
Sure.
Chinese internet, biotech, the SPACs, all that stuff peaked first, and they were the leaders to the upside. Other times, you could see, also financials and home builders back in 05, 06, they peaked first. Energy was the last leaders. They peaked last in that cycle.
Right.
I probably wouldn't overthink that. I wouldn't overthink that, Spencer.
Okay.
It's a good question, though.
Just thought I would ask.
Yeah, good question, though.
Okay.
I like the banks.
I don't. I just don't like the fact that the financials are the worst performing small cap group. If they were somewhere in the middle of the pack, or God forbid leading, I would probably be with you. Now, to your point, you're not buying regional banks. You're looking at the big ones.
Yeah, I mean, I got a little key corp.
For what?
If that thing goes.
For the juice.
That thing goes. Hey now. I also bought a very obscure regional bank that's just been hitting new all-time highs on relative terms for like a year now. And I said, I don't know what these guys do, but I'm in.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
That's different.
There's a couple of them.
Yeah, there's some good ones in the hot corner. We've just been talking about being good for so long through all the shit that their industry group has gone through.
I also own an obscure regional bank that it is not. I've owned it for a long time, and it's not a good one. I don't want to talk about it.
Okay. It's not Disney.
What time is Brett coming on?
5 minutes.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, Steven is Key Corp. Just doesn't give up. So
we've got I
got more earnings for you if you want.
I'm gonna hang out. Well, the three of us are hanging out together tonight, huh?
Hey,
look at us. In like 6 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is it that? No, it's more than that.
Yeah, like I gotta hop.
Strazza's flying up to New York. We're getting together.
Further commute than you guys. Is that
a couple cocktails? No big deal.
Bull market dinner, I heard.
Maybe. I hope so. I'm having a bull market lunch. I'll tell you that much. Me and the Pearl Dog are.
You're heading right in. When are you going in?
I'm going in like late, midday.
Gotcha.
But I'm having a lunch with Perlman. bull market, having a bull market lunch. Whether it's a bull market or not, it's not going to stop me from having a bull market lunch. That's for damn sure.
Excited to see him as well.
We're going to do a little omakase, a little
Do
JC Perlman omakase.
I knew you were. I wasn't.
But we couldn't get omakase reservations because the lunch ones are a pain in the ass. So we're gonna do it my own omakase.
I've been to those.
Cool.
Those are pretty good too.
So is Spencer.
Yeah.
All right, let's do one more earnings and then we'll have Brett on. Let's talk about Rivian here. This is just a train wreck. They cut their vehicle production guidance, which is kind of the one thing that's their only.
Woo.
It's their only thing. It's their only arrow in their quiver is their vehicle production. And so they cut their guidance. They're going to produce 57,000 cars this year, which is well below the 80,000 car estimate that the street had. So it's a disaster. It's down. What is it down this morning? Like 20%, something like that. Yeah, about 20% right now. So just a train wreck. But not good here. Not good. So this is your disaster of the day. Want to mention
Quite the disaster. So it's down 20% pre-market, 1245, which would put it. That would put it pretty much at last year's lows, which are the all-time lows.
Okay. I hate this stock. I don't want to talk about its earnings. Let's do Grab Holdings.
I'm pretty sure they don't have any. I don't know anything about fundamentals, but I doubt there's any earnings.
I didn't mention earnings. I mentioned vehicle deliveries, right?
All of these things. There are there's like 4 ETFs for autonomous vehicles and EVs. There's like 4 of these funds.
Sure.
There's one stock. There's one stock you need to buy in the whole space. The rest are terrible.
What, Tesla?
There's 4 ETFs for these things.
Is
ridiculous.
The one stock BYD?
It's the one that makes money and actually makes cars. There's literally one of them.
Does Tesla make money? They earn money
in any sort of material way. It's Tesla.
All right.
Not BYD in China.
All right, fine.
No.
Fine. You know how I feel about BYD. They're good too.
Okay.
Anyway, more batteries.
Moving on.
Do they actually make vehicles or just batteries?
BYD Boyd Gaming?
Yeah. No. Build your dreams.
No. It's the name of the company is BYD, right?
They changed it. It used to be Build Your Dreams when I bought it. It was the first stock I ever bought.
Really?
Oh, that's what that stands for?
BYDDFPK. I paid $50 commissions. Mr. Warren Buffett was buying it. This is like more than 15 years ago, probably closer to 20 years ago. Fun thing.
All right. You want to talk about Grab?
Yeah, because this is an interesting story. I like this. This is the Uber of Southeast Asia, right? The market that these guys are serving is growing so fast. If they could figure out, what they're doing operationally, there aren't many better ways to bet on the consumer or the, growth story out in Southeast Asia than one of the largest consumer-facing brands, right?
True. So their earnings were fine, in line. They're doing a buyback, $500 million buyback as well, and their earnings were good. The guidance is all in line. It was all good. Yeah. So
listen, things are starting to look up out there. With these Southeast Asian countries, they've all looked like China for way too long. They all tend to actually move with China to some degree or another, but the Philippines is kind of poking its head out of this base like, hello, we're here now. New 52-week highs, both local and USD. Really the first one that looks decent at all in that region, so I think it's worth paying attention to. What do you think, JC?
All right.
This is how good things start, right?
I think you just had a good time. I think you just had a good time in Asia.
You think I'm biased?
Maybe.
I just think you're not so much biased, but you're extra focused in an area that you wouldn't normally be had you not had such a lovely time there.
I look at Latin America too. We got a little bit excited. There's still not too much to write home about in Latin America. Developed Europe, I'm really liking, whether it's UK or Germany.
That's sticking the German DAX.
Right back up at highs. So, these guys, they would check the bull market box.
That's industrials, guys. That's not AI, semis, none of that shit.
But it's broad too. Like, look at Italy. Maybe not UK.
France, same thing. Industrials.
EWQ is France. They all look the same.
Mm-hmm.
Spain is what? EWP, right?
Yep.
Getting there. Good stuff going on there. Good stuff. Maybe we finally get that rotation back into ex-US stuff. I think that would be really cool. Let the US take a breather. Q4 of 2022 feels so long ago. These ex-US stocks were the best place to be.
Well, think about it. Technology stocks have really been struggling, right, for over a month, right? So with technology stocks struggling for a month, the United States stock market has gone nowhere. If anything, it's gone down. But in other countries that don't have this much tech exposure, to your point, all these European countries and Japan for that matter, they've been going up, right?
Yeah.
It's only the United States that hasn't been going up.
Japan is partying like it's 1989.
So what do you think? Does Nikkei just ignore the 1989 highs? Like, I'm fascinated by this. Like, I don't have a horse in the race. Like, I'm good either way. So I'm just really curious to see how it acknowledges it. You know what it can do? You know what it is one possibility?
Rip and check back.
Yep, that's right. Rip right through and then check back. That's exactly right. You know me too well.
Yeah,
I want to ask our guest about this as well. So let's bring him on. Brett Kenwell, U.S. investment analyst for eToro. He's here. He's coming on the show.
Jay, we've been friends for a long time. Make the call.
I mean, this is pretty professional, guys.
Nice show you got going here.
Mr. Kenwell, how we doing?
Hey, Spencer, how's it going?
Do you have thoughts on the Nikkei being at a 35-year high?
Something like that. 35 sounds right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the action there has been pretty intense now for a little while. It feels, to say a long time coming, feels a little.
Do you think the market? Do you think the market right now cares? Do you think traders care at about that all-time high level from 89, or not really?
Is there memory there? Market memory
for a lot of traders, probably not. But to be fair, I mean, I always think like an old high is really important, especially when it's like over a long set of time. You know, to see it get back up there, I think you guys mentioned like it wouldn't be surprising to see it burst through and then check back to it. It's exactly this type of style that I like when I look for setups. So, if that were to be the case, that's something that would be a great an opportunity, I think. But yeah, I mean, I think an old high is always relevant. It's not typically 3 decades apart, so that's kind of tough to say. But yeah, I guess we'll see how it handles it.
Big split in the technical community on stuff like this. Decade-long polarity zones. A lot of people would tell you, no, it doesn't matter anymore. Some would treat ETFs or funds differently than individual equities and say, oh, the holdings were so different then. What do you can't compare it. So we're kind of like split on this one, but there's so many charts. Like XLF comes right to mind. You just zoom all the way out on it and you see it reacting at the same levels over and over and over again, 20 years later, 15 years later. I don't know. I wouldn't ignore it,
Yeah, that's how I feel. I mean, the XLEs, like you said, the XLF, we see that all the time in the XLE too. It's so responsive to certain ranges and levels. The Nikkei, it's not, I'm not, Japanese stocks are not my forte, but a chart's a chart. I mean, I think it's relevant until proven not relevant, I guess would be the way I think about it.
So what stocks are your forte? Tell us a little bit about who you are. What are you doing over there at eToro? How many charts are you looking at?
Yeah, Chartland and eToro, right? Like, so I'm mostly a U.S. equity focused analyst. I just came off a global meeting with, a global analyst. So that's always kind of fun to get the different perspectives mostly from Europe, but from around the world. It really honestly drives home the amount of focus that is on U.S. stocks, globally speaking, and especially right now with NVDA and what's going on in the semis. There is just, I mean, you would think that we were on a call with all U.S. analysts. I mean, that's how much focus is on, U.S. tech, NVIDIA.
Really? So the European analysts weren't talking about Europe?
I mean, of course we talk like, DAX is making a monster move today and continues to push. And, we're seeing the strength in other areas too. But yeah, the focus is, I mean, the US drives the world markets, right? Like that's the focus. And when it comes to active investors and traders, they're going to the names that are making the moves. NVIDIA, being the most obvious candidate this year and really over the past year. But yeah, there's so much focus on US stocks and in US tech. It's crazy.
Can't imagine why with NVIDIA doing what it's doing here.
What are some groups you're focusing on right now?
Sector wise?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the strength's been in banks, it's been in healthcare, it's been in industrials. I'm kind of starting to look a little other. I want to see those areas continue to do well. Especially like, it's always great to see financials leading, the large cap financials doing well. Real estate is kind of coming back to life a little bit. I know that's sort of contrarian to what a lot of the thought processes out there. Like that group did really well. Same with utilities. Honestly, they're both kind of starting to wake up a little bit. They did really well in in Q4 and that run up to the idea that we were going to go into a big rate cutting phase and Fed was going to cut all these, cut 6 times this year and everything. And so those sensitive sectors did pretty well. And then
especially real estate. I mean, these real estate stocks were ripping off the Q4 lows.
Yeah, I mean they really came alive in those last couple months, and then then they basically spent all year fading because these rate cuts keep getting pushed back and the number of cuts expected keeps going down. But I'm just going through those this morning, and it's they're starting to break out of those downtrends. I don't know that it's sustainable, but at least anyone who's interested in those sectors that has a low now to measure against.
Yeah.
Brett, I want to ask you about breadth here. You comment in your note. I wanted to ask you to elaborate on because we've been going back and forth about breadth here on this show for the past, a month. And this is what you wrote. You wrote, breadth has improved off the lows, obviously, but thinning out over the last 2 months. Elaborate, please.
Yeah. So, going into the October lows, it was like sentiment was so gnarly. It was horrible. Breadth was terrible, but as that rebound came, we started hitting so many stocks started hitting new highs, new 52-week highs. And the 52-week lows started to dry up. There's so much strength and participation in that Q4 rally. It was really, really fun to see, honestly. It was impressive, but we started to see sort of those trends cool off basically towards the end of the year, like late December. The 52-week high list started to moderate a bit. 52-week low list hasn't really picked up too much. Like it's been a huge monster run, but basically just like narrowing leadership so much. Now it's like before it was like Magnificent 7. Now it's, I don't know what you want to call it, Magnificent 2. I mean, just there's so much less leadership now than we had a couple months ago, which isn't like a bad thing. It's just, it's just the reality.
It feels to me as though it's about as thin, in terms of market internals as it was last year.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, it's not necessarily, it doesn't mean the world's ending or we're going into a bear market. Just, like last year, the market kind of defied everyone as it continued to chug higher on the back of, 10 names, if you want to give it 10. I don't know that we get that thin again necessarily this year, but to me, it just, I'm not bearish for what it's worth, but I am, cautious in the near term. It seems like we kind of pulled forward a lot of the gains for this year. We rallied like 14 out of 15 weeks until last week we dipped like 0.5%. Yeah. So it's like, I feel, like it's not you're not like going crazy out of the box to be like, hey, 4 to 5% correction from here wouldn't be a bad thing.
Do you think, this growth trade has to cool off? And some of those areas you talked about, whether it's real estate or financials, biotechs, pick up the slack? Is it a growth versus value thing? Is it a large versus small thing? Like if we do get some sort of rotation, or if all these gains that were maybe pulled forward in the mega cap techs, what do you think picks up the slack?
I think it would be really healthy to see some of the large cap, in this case, like ultra mega cap names kind of chill out a bit, have just a normal year and see some of that money profit taking and rotate that into, the smaller mid cap names and watch them come back to life and drive that next leg. I don't know that that'll happen, but that would be great to see if it did.
That would be very, very healthy rotational price action I think you need small caps to at least participate, even if they don't lead. Like, they got to take out that 200 level, complete this little reversal. Those are the things that, the ARC indexes, the biotechs, real estate's working on a little bit of base. Let's see these bases in the lagging areas complete and some more groups join the party. The bull market's kind of standing on a weak foundation with the thin participation just from these mega caps.
Completely agree. I would love to see it's not, I don't know the word. It's not surprising, I guess, in the environment. It's not exactly discouraging because we are hitting new highs in the S&P, NASDAQ, Dow. Basically the bigs, but it's like you want to see the small caps come to life. You want to see them join the party and get with the program a little bit. I don't know. Maybe that comes when we have more clarity with the Fed and what they're doing with rate cuts. It seems like investors are hanging on every report, every word from Jay Powell. I mean, it's like I was reading this story the other day that we had the hot inflation report last week, and then I was reading about how some are speculating rate hikes are on the table. I'm just like, you guys went from 6 rate cuts to a rate hike.
Yeah, it's crazy.
On one report.
They have no idea. The market cannot make up its mind. I think we were pricing in like 6 cuts at one point earlier this year.
Yeah, well, I think we're down to 3. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much do you like intermarket? You keep talking about bonds, obviously where interest rates are going matter to some groups more than others. How about other things? Dollar? Are you looking at other areas of the intermarket landscape?
Yeah. So the dollar and yields have kind of been like a main focus, not just, not for me, I think just generally speaking. Those rate cuts do have like the reverberating effect, right? Or rate hikes, rate cuts, however you want to frame it. They do have sort of, these outlasting impacts, and it is discouraging to see, bonds have been coming in almost all year. That's, if you're a stock market bull, to see bonds underperforming like that is discouraging. To see strength in the dollar, that is another potential headwind.
Yeah.
So so far these haven't cultivated into any meaningful correction. I think, maybe 2% or so, but I just think, what would happen if we had a negative report for a negative reaction from NVIDIA? If you took this morning's bid out of it and maybe even reversed it, this conversation would be completely different around FinTwit. So,
oh yeah,
I think you have to take those headwinds into consideration. I do certainly, but I'm not sure, when they necessarily will play a role.
And sometimes the signal is in what doesn't happen, right? Like the dollar has been strong all year. JC's talking about whatever, 7-8 straight up weeks. Rates have been rallying. Like you said, nothing meaningful. At least if you look at the large cap indexes, stocks have been rallying. Risk assets, cryptos have been rallying right there with a rising dollar and rising interest rates. If God forbid that changes and the rising dollar goes away and starts falling or rates start giving some back, are stocks that held up so well during that period going to not do well when those headwinds abate?
I don't know if they won't not do so well as much as some of the other stocks that had rallied aggressively on the idea of a lower dollar, lower yields, lower rates, watching that manifest into reality. So if the Fed does, at least provide us with clarity on rate cuts, or we do start to see those rate cuts, that's when I think when we can start to see, some of the higher growth names that are more dependent on financing and borrowing, where they kind of need that money.
Yeah.
Those names can start to perform better. You can start to see the small cap names do better. You start to see like the rate sensitive interest, real estate, those markets come back like they did in the fourth quarter. I think that type of rotation would be great to see. I think it just will take time until we have some clarity.
Leadership moves back into the names you were talking about, the real estate, maybe utilities, maybe a little biotech, ARCy stuff.
Yeah.
The rate sensitive groups. Yeah. Banks too.
Brett, I want to ask you about crypto. I know you're not an altcoin guy, but you do watch the big ones, right? So what have you observed? First off, what is your take on crypto, on Bitcoin and Ethereum here? And also, what have you observed with regards to Bitcoin, Ethereum as a indicator for tech more broadly?
Yeah. So first of all, these two, Bitcoin and Ethereum, hit 52-week highs this week. So like, it's pretty hard to be bullish on them. Their trends are great. They're moving really well.
Bearish. Hard to be bearish.
Did I say hard to be bullish? Yeah, hard to be bearish. Yeah, it's hard to be too negative. I mean, stock's hitting a 1-year high. That's good stuff, right? I mean, the trends are strong. The news has been favorable for these groups. So, I mean, they continue to do really well. When it comes to being a leading indicator, I don't know, how long that this will stay in effect, but I started to kind of go back through Bitcoin since 2020 when it started to become really popular after COVID. And you notice like it topped out, slightly before, whatever, a week or two before the S&P topped out in 2020 in February, before the COVID sell-off came. And then it bottomed like a couple days, a week before, the NASDAQ bottomed. And then you see it, you just see like kind of these big moves. It's not 100% correlation, obviously, but it's not uncommon for it to see Bitcoin top before the market tops and bottom before the market bottoms. And that's been pretty impressive. It's not too surprising. Like I look at Bitcoin as a risk on type of asset. When you're feeling risk and you want to layer that on, Bitcoin and crypto is a place to be in my mind. I kind of think about it as like a tech, basically a giant tech name. So that's where I look at it.
I think everyone does at this point. I think the idea of Bitcoin being a hedge against anything is yet to be proven out at all, right?
No, it's a highly speculative risk asset.
Right.
But on the same side, every time Bitcoin goes through a bear market and survives, it just speaks to its, it gets a little more Teflon, like it gets stronger as it survives each bear market.
It's been incredible. The staying power, I think, what more does it need to prove to us? And, what was it? A few months ago, we were talking about like a little bit of outperformance from staples and some defensive groups and a little bit of evidence of some risk off behavior, defensive positioning. And then we're looking at Bitcoin, which is absolutely screaming higher. And it's like, well, how defensive, is the price action in the market really if they're going out and bidding up Bitcoin and Ethereum and some of these altcoins? I think it's like the ultimate risk asset.
Yeah, it was honestly, it was pretty telling to me in October. Bitcoin was hitting a 52-week high and the S&P was running into the low for what ended up being the low for the year. And that the divergence between the two, I mean, it wasn't like hey, let's go all in on stocks here because Bitcoin's at a 52-week high, but it was really saying like, hey, look, maybe this is a time to start looking to be buyers rather than, puking into this decline. There's signs that are saying we should be paying attention for at least a snapback in what turned into be, monster 23% run or something in S&P.
Yeah.
Interested in any of these altcoins? Following along, Solana?
Solana would be basically the one outside of Bitcoin and Ethereum that I follow. Just looks like some nice consolidation to me. Had that beautiful breakout over like 27.
Yeah.
I was convinced it would come back and let me have a chance at it. Did not do that. It was just screamed up and doubled so fast and then went on for so much more. So yeah, that name looks beautiful.
Brett, before I let you go, give us one sector or even industry group that maybe that's going to perform the best, but that's going to get the most of your attention for like let's say next quarter.
Most of my attention would probably go. I got to see how this semiconductor situation shakes out. I mean, there's so much focus on it. It's maybe not even unique to say that because I think everyone's watching it. I just feel like it's driving so much of the move, whether that's the actual like market cap size in NVDA and its effect on, the Qs, or if it's like more of the euphoric speculative type of price action we're seeing in, super micro. It's kind of a fascinating thing to watch. But it's also it's important to the market structure too. So I'm going to mostly have my eye on that. If you wanted to go like more obscure, like I really want to see how utilities and real estate trade from here. They've been down all year just about. Now they're perking back up. Like, I don't know if that's like the investors getting the idea of like front running and the idea of another rate cut. So I just want to see if those can hold the lows and continue to push.
I think this is an interesting topic and something we've been thinking about. I don't know the right answer, but we traditionally would look at those two groups, utilities and real estate, and if they showed any sort of, material outperformance over any significant time frame, we'd say that's not the best for the broader market, right? Seeing these guys outperform. if that happens now, though, shouldn't we kind of look at it and say it's probably more of an interest rate situation than defensive positioning?
That is 100% how I view the situation. I think it's an interest rate story, not a defensive positioning story.
I think you would, to prove that, we could go and look at some other traditional like defensive positioning indicators, right? And if they're not confirming and those groups are outperforming, it's a bond market thing, not a bear market thing.
Yeah, great point. I mean, bonds are so typically thought of as like, the safe environment or where you would go to avoid risk. I think the last 2 years have showed you that bonds can be just as volatile when the focus turns to interest rates and not necessarily like macroeconomic factors. I mean, look, bonds got killed. I mean, I was getting calls from like my relatives being like,
Yeah.
what was going on with my bond portfolio? This was supposed to be my safe money. And I'm like, it's kind of, it took a lot of people off guard. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. Wait, I just had a question for you, Brett. I just had one more. Oh yeah, I was just gonna comment how like NVIDIA is funny because it almost behaves like a meme stock, but it's not. But it actually sort of is. So it's sort of just weird how it's got the fundies to back it up, but it also has this like meme like price action. So
yeah, weird. So many people talk about it from like a bubble perspective.
Yeah.
I have a really hard time calling NVIDIA a bubble. Like, I've been pretty involved with NVIDIA over the years. Just from like, I think I've gone to like the GTC conferences and stuff like that, and they have,
awesome.
Yeah, they're so much fun, and to hear their keynotes and stuff, it's just like you see really the scope of where AI can go and well, where it is going at this point. But yeah, NVIDIA has, it has the margins, the cash flow, the earnings, the revenue. I mean, grew revenue like 260%, 265%. That's bananas at this size. So, yeah, they at least the price action's been crazy, but at least they have the fundamentals there.
I don't think you could call it a bubble. I think that's very unfair. I don't think you could call it hype. Like you said, if you've been going to these conferences a long time ago, they've been talking about AI as long or longer than anybody, right? Telling us that they were all going to do this one day. And then from a valuation perspective, can you even say it's expensive when they're delivering the way they are? Like, who really knows what's expensive for a company that's doing this? Because
that's
no
true.
one's ever done
No one knows. That is true.
So it's just a tough one to put your finger on, but it's incredible. So,
look, I mean, when it comes to, I'll touch on the valuations real quick, and then you guys can give me the bounce. But it's like for NVIDIA, people look at the stock and see it up 500%, and they say, "Oh, it's overvalued. Like it's got to go down." It's like, well, they just grew revenue 260%. Like, you might want to take into consideration like the margins are expanding. Demand is outpacing supply. Like they have the pricing power right now, and that's driving the bottom line. It's driving the top line. And look, what are you basing your valuation on? Is it past? Are you basing it on the past, which isn't relevant anymore? Are you basing it on the future, where the analysts are still, even after 5 or 6 monster quarters, they're still behind? They still guided above consensus. So is the valuation stretched after, rallying 50% year to date? Yeah, it's probably stretched a little bit in the short term, but I mean, who's to say it's not cheap on a longer term basis?
It becomes a question of what are investors willing to pay for this kind of growth?
Truly.
Decide what the valuation is going to be.
NVIDIA is the best house on the nicest block in the AI community. So, I mean, it's going to come with a premium.
Yep.
That's it. That's
totally
it right
agree.
there. All right, Brett Kenwell, eToro, U.S. investment strategist. Brett, thank you so much, man. Always a pleasure.
Brett.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, guys.
Man, that was a great quote. NVIDIA, what was it? NVIDIA is the nicest house on the nicest neighborhood in the AI.
The nicest block in the AI neighborhood.
Nicest block. That was
and
good.
It really is. In fact, it's all their neighbors hate them because they're making everybody else's pretty houses look bad.
But no, they don't hate them. They're raising the value of their own houses too. But you brought up a good point though, which is we don't really know what expensive means for an AI company because it's never happened before. So all we can really do is compare it to the S&P 500 or other semiconductor stocks or other tech stocks, and that's fine. But it's not quite apples to apples, and maybe with the other chips it is.
There's no comp. There's no comp.
Yeah.
Not even close. And also, like Spencer, even if there was, and you had some way that you thought made sense to value this, you really want to value these things based on the future, and nobody knows how many hundreds of percents they're going to grow by next quarter.
Something else that was mentioned on the call that hadn't occurred to me was, the demand that Jensen Wong talked about, the demand, where it's coming from. It's coming from, companies, obviously,
Sure.
and then governments. Like, duh.
Oh, yeah.
Like every country in the world is tripping over themselves, at least the first world, to get ahead of this thing, right?
This is why.
So he took over for Callie Cox?
Yeah.
Cool. Where's
This is
Callie now?
Not sure. What are you talking about?
What?
Hey, JC.
What's up?
Hey.
I liked Callie. He was cool too.
Me-
What?
I thought Brett was great. We had a lovely
He
conversation.
was fantastic.
We talked about valuations and fundamentals, so it's probably best that you were refreshing your coffee.
I don't have to refresh my coffee. I get mine delivered.
Not me.
Today's morning show brought to you by Dunkin'.
Love me some Dunkin', huh?
Every time we go by Dunkin', my daughter gets upset because they changed the logo. They used to have like a coffee mug and it would be Dunkin' Donuts, and she's very upset about it. And my wife gets mad at me because I tell her, because she's, Daddy, why did they change the logo? I'm like, well, board of directors got together. It was a marketing decision. And Morgan is like, will you stop talking to your daughter like that? I'm like, she asked you a question. That's the truth.
Oh, God.
You wait till she finds out it used to be called Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh, she knows.
Oh, okay.
Oh, she's very familiar.
Oh, okay.
What were you saying,
She gets the
Spencer?
pink frosting.
What was I saying? Government demand. Governments.
So now this is such a national security thing.
Yeah.
Like for them, like they're right in the middle of it. That's why they cannot keep making these chips in Taiwan. It won't happen. They can't do it. Can't do it. That's got to come here. So they're selling China these super AI chips with like governors on them. They're like not quite as good as the best ones. That's crazy, right? Like that's how powerful the US is, because the big tech companies and the innovations are here. Or we can say to other governments that we might not have the best relationships with, hey, you don't get the sweet new technology. You get like 3/4 of it, but not the super good ones.
By the way, it's sweet for now. It's sweet for now.
It's a weird,
Have you guys seen the new OpenAI model that does videos? You've seen that? It's freaking mind blowing.
No.
Oh my goodness.
This stuff is moving so fast, though. And one thing that I do see out in the wild is more and more people that I would never expect to tell me that they're using AI in their everyday lives now using AI. Like across the board. Just talk to people. It's really a thing. And we're a year into it. What does this look like this time next year or the year after? Who knows? And there's going to be monster winners that nobody could even guess right now. It's going to be fun. A lot of changes,
all right, we're about to open here. It's 9:29, 9:30, actually 9:30 on the dot. There it is. Do we want to do hot corner? I didn't see too much there today. I saw a CEO buy what Opca Health bought $1 million.
He's always buying though. Dr.
Buying,
Frost. Yeah. Blackstone. I don't think we need to do it today. We can.
Yeah. No, it's all right. We didn't have anything.
We hit on all the earnings. We hit on the FOMC yesterday. That was a snoozer, right?
Yeah, we had the minutes.
The jobs. The jobs.
No, it's
no jobs.
It's Thursday.
Inflations.
No, there's no inflations.
Nothing.
Right. Fawn, do you want to rock up the calendar just for a second? That we had just we had what's today? Today's Thursday. I just said that. Well, we had Moderna. That was interesting. They actually swung to a profit last quarter. We can talk about that. Etsy was interesting. That was down this morning. Don't know if
this New Holdings is one of those crazy strong banks. Is that what that NU is? I don't know.
Yeah, it's like a fintech. I don't quite know what I guess it means. They get a good lofty valuation. I'm not quite sure.
It's one of those banks that looks different from the other banks. Is all.
Yes, I don't quite know why or understand what they do. We do have some interesting names tonight. Mercado Libre, Block, Intuit.
Yeah.
Intuit. This is your reminder, everyone. Start doing your taxes. Yeah. I don't know. Oh, Booking. That's interesting.
I will say this Vertiv VRT. It's a big, heavily shorted name. Got hit on earnings the other day, and this is what NVIDIA just comes in, saves the market, up 9.5% here this morning, taking it all back.
Yeah,
So,
Brett made a great point, which is if NVIDIA, if that reaction was the opposite, we're having extremely different conversations today.
Right. And that's, I was saying earlier, I don't want to be involved when the music stops, because it will be Palo Alto-esque. Somebody's getting Snapchatted for sure.
Speaking of Snapchat,
what
are we doing out there?
I don't know, man. It's no good.
I want to see. I really want to see how this thing reacts. Right now, NVIDIA right around 740. That 735 is the key level. I'm not in any rush. I'm going to the city today. If I miss it, I miss it. It's been so good to us. But if this thing settles down here, let the dust settle, let everything calm down, and it's hanging above that 735, there's your new entry, man. The thing is, though, Strazza.
What's the thing?
The last two entries, the last two trades we put on in NVIDIA were so much cleaner. They were so much easier.
Yeah.
And this one, to be fair, this one might set up like that too, given some time. It might. I hope it does.
Dude.
But it's not as clean today as those other two are.
You had the base breakout back, and I think you were just talking about very early 2023, right? Buy that reversal, the same reversal.
Throw it up so people know what we're talking about, because not everybody has the memory that you
and you
I
could have
have.
ran that back, JC, so clean to those former highs, right? And made whatever.
Throw up slide 3, Spencer.
Then you had the 6 month, 7 month sideways that you got shown with the arc there.
Well, hold on. So you had the breakout in 2023, the first breakout, which was this was before any index was making new highs, before semis were making new highs. Like NVIDIA was in its own planet. And I remember specifically be like, I like the trade, but even if you don't like the trade, this is information for the broader markets. Remember?
Yeah. I'm talking
hit
about
our target fast, real fast.
I'm talking about the reversal pattern really early on. This is one of the first ones to complete a primary trend reversal.
Oh, you're talking about early 23. Yeah. Fine. Yeah. You're right. But it was the first one to break out.
Totally.
That was. You're right. Earlier, but
it broke out in a monster way. Historic earnings report, the best earnings report I've ever seen in my life by far. And then sideways, just digesting that monster move for 7 months. And then
was it that long?
Hold on.
Was it that long? No.
It's like June. That was May. That gap up into that sideways was May of last year. That was the Q1 earnings report.
Yeah, you're right. That was a long consolidation, man.
We held a special Twitter Spaces to talk about just how ridiculous this earnings report was.
No, it was like 4 months. It was like 4 months because the high was in August. It was like 4 months.
Fine, if you started from the May.
No, that sounds. I thought that seemed. Yes, if you started because there was a prior high before. Fair.
A lot of sideways is my point.
It was 4 or 5 months, whatever. A nice, healthy consolidation right at the target. Mm-hmm. New breakout above 500. Target hit faster than I thought, not going to lie, right? Yep. Boy, did that get there fast. Literally stopped going up last week as soon as it hit our target.
Yep.
And, now it's we'll see. Here we are at 753, hanging in there, Strazza. Very impressive. Granted, the market opened 5 minutes ago, but nevertheless, let's do a quick little rundown. Dow futures up 230 points today, about 60 basis points. S&P futures up 1.1%, about 60 points. NASDAQ futures up a little bit under 2% on the open. Bond futures up a little bit, but still relatively flat. Silver flat, copper flat, gold flat, oil flat. Wow. Literally zeros across the board in the commodity space.
Look at the charts of these banks and tell me you don't like them. You can't. They look so good.
Not buying financials, as financials literally just hit the late 2022 highs.
I wish I could buy some for you.
I used to do this when I was younger. I would buy stocks going into resistance. I would do that all the time.
I still do that. Because then you're early or you're wrong.
Something going unnoticed this morning. What a reversal in the dollar. Woo!
Yes.
What a reversal. Nasty reversal in the dollar.
You should talk about that and scare everybody while I'm getting my coffee.
What's scary about the dollar?
It's reversing.
It is.
I think that's
a
the
nasty
implication.
reversal. The dollar got the crap kicked out of it last night. I don't know if that was NVIDIA related, maybe like a risk on related trade. So they knocked down the dollar. Maybe that's really the only thing I can think of, but whoo, that thing has come back very aggressive.
Reversing all the way back to yesterday. But yeah. I mean, I don't know. JC, you've always said watch the dollar, right? Rising dollar is hardcore yellow flag territory. But
yeah, I mean, for me, the most bullish thing for stocks was probably the weakness that we've seen in the dollar over the last 8-9 days or so, right? A reversal there in the dollar and dollar strength is probably not good for equities.
I mean, I look at a weekly or even a monthly, and I just see nothing. Like nothing's happening.
Right, but the dollar index futures are up 7 weeks in a row, which is why most stocks stopped going up. Remember, the NASDAQ 100 hit the lowest levels yesterday since January.
I feel like you're putting too much emphasis on these year-to-date numbers.
No, it's not the year-to-date numbers that I'm putting emphasis on. Stocks peaked, a lot of them peaked on December the 27th. So the year-to-date stuff kind of just coincides with that rotation. Right? To your point, I don't like to do that. In fact, last year I kept telling everybody to stop doing that. This year I think is different because you actually did have things change the last week of the year. Is that fair?
All right. Well, it's 7 weeks in a row, but in the grand scheme of things, it hasn't actually gone anywhere. So
how so? 7 weeks in a row, Spencer. And by the way, the day that the dollar bottomed was the day that the new highs list peaked, the advanced decline lines peaked, the Russell 2000 peaked that day, bonds peaked that day. So you're sitting here telling me that it doesn't matter. It obviously does.
I don't know. I mean,
you think it's just a coincidence that all those things changed the day the dollar bottomed? It's just a coincidence.
All I see is a dollar still in this long ass range. That's all I see. So.
Okay, but as soon as fine, but zoom in to the time frame that we're discussing.
Yeah. Okay.
The day the dollar bottomed, a lot of things changed. Things stopped going up. Stocks and bonds.
All right.
No, am I wrong? Are we gonna split hairs?
Well, you're splitting hairs a little bit, and also there's a difference between things not going up and things going down.
Agreed, 100%.
Right.
That's the point we keep making. We haven't seen.
Let's just leave it at that.
We haven't seen an expansion in the new lows list. At least not yet.
Right.
We haven't seen it.
Right,
so
right.
While the majority of stocks stopped going up a couple of months ago, we have yet to see an expansion in new lows. And Spencer, one of the things I love about math is that mathematically, you cannot have a correction of any kind without stock prices going down.
Yes, that is, we can all agree on that.
Bullish, bearish, it doesn't matter. We can all agree on that. And you have yet to see an expansion in new lows. We've been talking about this for weeks.
Some more than others, but yes.
Hello.
I talk about it every day.
Correct.
Yes, he counts.
What? I count.
Strazza, where you are there?
I'm back to save you. I'm back to help you, Spencer.
I'm trying not to go down this rabbit hole.
No,
I'm really trying to step around it.
Which of the rabbit holes? Oh, speaking of rabbits, how was my Fibonacci explanation yesterday? It was the first time I actually gave a Fibonacci explanation, and whoo!
I gotta go watch.
I thought it was pretty good, actually. Any thoughts? Anybody? I thought that was a good one.
I can't believe you went for 3 hours. You're a freak.
Me neither. Honestly,
I think you can believe it.
Yeah, fine. I mean, I've done 2 before with no break, and that's the most I've ever done. I think you've gone all night before.
2 breaks. Give everybody the link if they want to catch last night's boot camp.
Yeah, I will.
Because tomorrow's the conference call.
During the throes of COVID, I was going like all day, like 7-8 hours a day. That was, everyone's locked down. We're all trading stocks. That was a good time. Anyway, the stream that JC is referring to last night was our technical analysis boot camp. I'm going to drop the link in the chat for everyone to register if you haven't already. If you're going to register and watch the replay, I would recommend you do it sooner rather than later, because as JC said, the conference call that comes with the membership is tomorrow.
Look at that, JC. Last night was the best Fibonacci explanation I have ever heard. Good job, JC.
Fibonacci.
Oh, wrong one.
That's good.
Hit the wrong one.
Thank you.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Hey, Sean,
We get a lot
are
of
you
questions
here? Are you
about
ready?
it, so
Is Sean ready? I don't even know if Sean's ready. I think he's ready. I'm gonna bring him on. How about that?
He counts. He counts. Ooh, baby. He
Good morning, boys.
Shawnee baby.
Hey, I need a new rug for my office. Are there any rugs for sale that I could find? I can find some good cheap rugs.
Whoa.
Too soon?
the-
Too soon.
I think the rug got pulled on the Bears.
Well, first of all, we've got put options in Qs and SPYs. At least I do.
You do.
And
I got out of
I
those
do.
long ago.
And they were profitable last time the stock market was open, which was yesterday. So
how?
They weren't.
How? Like, I'm sorry,
well,
but
they were, because the Qs hit the lowest level since January. So they might not have been up a lot, but they were up last time the stock market was open, which was yesterday. The SPY puts were not up, but the Qs were. Let's let them dance. Let's let them dance. I told you that I was going to buy a stock. Didn't I tell you I was going to buy a stock? Strazza said, if I send you a key lime pie, will you stop shorting stocks? And he said, if you send me 2, he sent me 2, and we bought Nucor.
Well, yeah.
I told you.
By the way, Sean, I really like this trade a lot. I didn't realize we were going all the way to January, and I don't want to get into too much of the details of the trade, but I love the fact that volatility is so cheap and we can go out a year. I really like that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've talked about this before. Anytime a stock is making an all-time high, generally speaking, not always, not in every case, but generally speaking, when a stock is making an all-time high, implied volatility is usually pretty low. And why is that? Because a stock that's making an all-time high, people aren't scared about, right? If you're a holder of that stock, you're not looking to hedge your position. You're not worried about giving up gains. In fact, you're thinking the other way. You're thinking, hey, this thing's smooth sailing, everything's looking good, blue skies ahead. And so when a stock's making all-time highs and volatility is low, that's my favorite setup in the world. We've talked about this many times. I just like to keep it simple and buy calls as far as I can, far dated as I can, because they're cheap. I'm getting great leverage. And if I'm right, I could really hit a home run. So in Nucor, we did something like that. We went out pretty farther than I usually go out. And hey, if this thing breaks out, if the thing follows through, I mean, the chart you're looking at right now is, I mean, what's that, a 20-year chart? That's, I don't look that far out. That's not my time frame. But if you look over the past 4 or 5 years, there you go. That's the chart that I like. This level that we recently broke above, I mean, that's been kind of the governor on progress over the last 3 years, right? Or 2 years at least. And we broke above it this year. We've consolidated those gains very nicely. And boy, if it follows through from here, 230, 240 could be the next stop.
This is an interesting range. A lot of the ranges we've been talking about are more or less rectangle patterns. Would you call this an ascending triangle, JC? Just a giant ascending triangle, right? It's a little long.
To be honest, you want me
long.
to be honest, which is why I like the fact that we went all the way to January. I don't love this setup short term. I don't.
But you don't love it.
I hate this. I hate the rising wedgie kind of situation. I don't love it. I think there's a possibility that we get one more shakeout. In fact, I'm not going to lie, I'd almost prefer it. You know what I mean? I'd almost prefer it. Like one last shakeout and then they go. which is why I like the fact that we got calls in January of next year. So like, I don't have to be like, oh my God, this is it. It's now or never. Let them dance. And I hate to say that like we're bullish, but I'd rather it go down because that's weird, but I kind of do.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how much wiggle room you would give it, but for me, my stop's at 179. As long as we stay above 179, it's trading at 185.
I think that's too.
Right
I
now.
think it's too tight. I think it's
You
too
think so?
tight. When I buy the calls or puts for that matter, in the case of SPYs and Qs, when I write the check, I write it off. I know Sean likes to add an additional layer of risk management. For me, the option is the risk management, right?
No, and
So,
you're
which
not
is
wrong.
a great example of how, the two of us or the three of us will agree on something and then we'll execute in very different ways.
Yeah. No,
right?
and you're speaking to one. There's several, but you're speaking to one of the superpowers of options trading, right? Like options by themselves, if you're a long purchaser of options, whether calls or puts, you already have embedded risk management. Now, you would be irresponsible if you invested all of your capital into one call option, right? That's not responsible risk management. But the fact that the way the contract is designed, meaning you can only lose what you invest and no more. That's not something a futures trader can say. That's not something a stock trader can say. Certainly not something a crypto trader can say. So yes, JC, you are right. When you buy the calls, you can just say, all right, it's all or nothing for me. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, many option traders trade just that way and they do just fine. For me, I like to be a little bit more fine-tuned with my risk management. And that just comes from years of reviewing my own trades, where I've noticed that, hey, if I get out of these things before they're a total loss, over time, I'm coming out much further ahead. But that takes more active risk management, right? I know you don't want to sit here and micromanage your positions every day, and that's fine. Many people don't. But for me, I'm here. I'm staring at the markets all day long. I have the luxury of being able to, watch these a little bit closer and fine tune my risk management. But that's just me. There's no one right way to do it, as you know.
One of the things we were talking about yesterday in the technical analysis boot camp, I did a little, options, technical analysis and options kind of little talk.
Ooh, you fancy.
I mean, sometimes I get fancy like that. And it was kind of like, it was after the risk management position sizing sort of conversation. So it kind of tied the room together is really what it did. And hey now. So one of the things I was talking about is that sometimes, you want to be in something, but the risk management is not as clearly defined as perhaps other situations. In which case, perhaps the options market is a better vehicle. To me, this is that. Like, I don't want to own the common here because I think that there's a possibility of a shakeout. Maybe we get one, maybe we don't. Like if we don't get one and it goes straight up, like I'm obviously not going to complain about it. But if we do get that shakeout, I'm okay with it.
Right. This thought just came to my mind too. It's somewhat relevant, not so much to Nucor because Nucor has plenty of liquidity. But one of the other nice things about options is a lot of times we come up with ideas, right? And we love the setup. And then we look at the options chain and we're like, oh man, there's not much liquidity here. There's not much open interest. The bid-ask spreads are wider than we're comfortable with. But the nice thing with the defined risk feature of options is, let's say we want to buy a call, but the liquidity is just not there. Well, if we're patient and we size our position in a way like we were talking a moment ago, that we're comfortable losing everything, you can wade into those options that are a little bit less liquid, and just know that, hey, I'm getting in, I'm risking what I'm comfortable risking. And if the stock goes the other direction and the liquidity evaporates and I can't get out of these calls, that's fine. I've already accepted a 100% loss. Anything less than that is a win. So that's another nice thing. Because how many times have we been in a conference call or just chatting about ideas? I know me and Strazza do this all the time. We'll come up with a great idea, then we'll look at the option chain and just be like, oh, there's just nothing there. We can't trade it. This sucks.
Yeah. Hey, guys, see my mug?
What does it say? Put it closer.
ETF, Goldman Sachs, ETFs.
Goldman Sachs has ETFs?
Fresh 2-year highs.
Hold on. Goldman Sachs has ETFs? Really?
Asset management.
Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Everybody has ETFs.
Yeah.
This is new. I don't know. I don't know much about like the ETF business. I know
You
they got
need an
shitty
ETF.
margins. That I know. That's why we're not in the ETF business.
More mutual funds and stuff like that than ETFs, but yeah. This thing's going though. This thing's going. We talked about how tight this coil was. We talked about the Bollinger Bands being at their lowest level and literally like zoom all the way out. It's never been this compressed for this long. And what do we say? They teach us this in the technical analysis literature. From contraction comes expansion, and this thing is contracted to just such extreme low levels. This coil, you want your flat.
What's your target? You're looking for a 10% move, 8% move back to the former highs, like
trading it through short dated options. I'm going to make a ton of money. It's gonna
fine, fair. Okay, fair. That's fair. That's fair.
The chief YOLO officer has spoken.
That's right.
No, I threw out my beef with it.
You're right.
He answered it. He couldn't have given me a better answer. I have no complaints with that trade because for me, an 8% move, like,
yeah,
it's not worth it for me. But the way he's expressing that works. So kudos to Strazza.
Yeah, Strazza, you talked about this trade with us yesterday, and I liked it. I have a little FOMO. I'm not in it with you. Congrats. Good luck.
See how it goes. It should be a quick one.
Yeah.
I think. All right, let's do some.
Yeah, go for it. I'm done.
Let's do some recess.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Let's hit it. I've got to hurry up. I got a flight to catch and meet you guys in New York tonight.
I wish you were coming.
Just kidding. Hey, so all right, I'll kick off recess. I got a little something I'm excited about. So this is year 2 for me. Year 2 of coaching my son's basketball team. And this past weekend, we won our game, and we are now qualified for the 2nd season in a row. We're going to play in the championship game next weekend. Actually, in 2 weeks.
Good
2
job.
weeks.
Hey,
yeah, so we
That's
got our big championship game. Very excited. The kids are excited, and we'll see how it rolls.
Awesome. Good luck. Good luck to the kids. My recess is I'm going skiing this weekend. First time in 2 years for me.
Don't break your thumbs like I did a
Extremely
couple weeks
excited.
ago.
Jeez.
I will not break my thumbs. I don't use. I
didn't actually break them, but I sprained them really bad.
Yeah.
Oh,
It happened again. Sean did the thing and it happened. No, I'm so excited. I'm skiing tomorrow. I'm skiing Saturday.
where are you skiing? Vale?
I
Vale.
wish. No, just a small place up in the Catskills. I'm staying local for this one. The short weekend trip, but it's gonna be awesome. I love it.
Big fan of the Catskills. Big fan.
Got myself a brand new jacket. I'm ready to go.
Nice.
So ready. That's what I got. That's my recess. Anyone have anything else?
I want somebody to pay close attention to Strazza over the next 24 hours. I want a bagel count. How many bagels he eats while he's in New York. He was talking about it yesterday. He's all geeked up for some bagels.
I will be in New York for like 12 hours.
So that's enough time for what? Like 3 bagels?
I'll probably eat at least 2 bagels. It'll probably all happen tomorrow morning on my way to the airport.
Strazza, do you think you'll even sleep? Do you think you'll even sleep in New York, or are you just gonna stay up all night?
No, I'm definitely sleeping. Definitely sleeping. I got a
Here's a question for you guys. Ready? So I'm having omakase with Perlman today. Do you think he'll eat the rice, or will he just take the fish off the rice?
No, and he's going to shame you for eating it.
Shame away, as I'm gonna stare right at him as I'm drinking my sake. What do you think?
No,
Hold on, this is a serious question. Raise your hand if you think Perlman eats the rice.
No.
I
don't
think he does.
No chance.
I think he does.
You think so?
No.
I think he does.
I need you to report back.
I will. So we're gonna start with a little hamachi with a ponzu, then go right into the uni. Right? You want to bookend the uni. Right? You start with the uni, you end with the uni.
The hamachi is underrated too. It should really be in every sushi meal you eat.
You know what I really like when they put a little piece of jalapeno
hamachi?
on top?
Yeah.
Woo!
What is hamachi? Sorry.
It's like Japanese yellowtail.
You can do a Campacci too, which is a more like exotic yellowtail.
If you could do some
Then just say
guerrilla video or photographic evidence of Perlman eating that rice, that would be great.
I think he's gonna eat the rice because he's like, bro, I'm in such good shape. I can eat anything I want. My metabolism, bro. I think he's gonna eat the rice.
If you want to throw up that picture, Spencer, that I just dropped in, this is what I'm dealing with here today.
Yeah. What is this? Hold on.
So when I get my suitcase out, my cat loses her shit.
Oh, this happened right before we went to Asia.
Remember,
Lola
she went
cat.
out of the suitcase. So the suitcase is out downstairs, and she is knocking everything off my desk while I'm trying to do the show right now. She's right in front of me, just knocking over golf balls, little statues that I have, picture frames, books.
I love it. I love it.
Disaster in here. She hits the keys. Yeah, right there. Right there. So that's my situation this morning.
I love it.
All right. Okay, so it's Thursday. We have Options Jam session with Sean at noon. We're doing Chart Request Live. Steve will not be on it, but Pat will be there, and I'll be there. That'll be at 1 o'clock. Stay tuned for that.
Hey, quick preview. Quick preview of the Options Jam session. Raising lots of stops.
He's a
bull market.
Raiser.
That's
It's a
it.
bull market jam session today.
Are you going to
Bull
wear one
market,
of
that's
Strazza's
That's what we
shirts?
call it.
It's gonna really tie the room together. That's for sure. If we get one.
Hey, now.
Well, you don't have a rug, so you need a shirt to tie the room together. Yeah. All righty.
Rugs are on sale.
We're done. That's right.
Good
Thanks
stuff.
to Brett for hanging out. Thanks to all of you guys in the chat. Thanks to Sean. Everyone, go make some money.
See you
Have a great
Monday.
day. We'll
See you
later.
Monday.
Oh, no
That's
show tomorrow. Yes.
See,
No show tomorrow. Steve will be in New York. I'll be skiing. JC will be doing.
I will be hungover.
Whatever. That's right.
Birthday
Okay.
party
We'll see you guys
tonight.
Monday. All right.
and see you tonight too.
See you tonight.
That's right.
Are you flexing your biceps? Is
No, I
a
was trying to point at you guys. But
Are
I
you
never-
telling me
I
which
don't know where
way?
you
Are you
are.
telling me which way the beach is?
So you're that way. Spencer's this way. See you guys tonight, but not you, Sean.
Good job all around this week, everybody. Good job all around. Shout out.
Steve, go
Shout out.
Go get yourself a nap, buddy. You need a nap before you head to New York.
He's gonna sleep on the plane.
No,
Like,
you,
before
JC.
he
You
does
need
a
a
happy
nap.
hour. He wants to do a 3-hour educational thing and lose his voice.
You got to give the people
I
what
think-
they
I
want.
think-
They
listen,
wanted
I
to
think
learn
I'm
about
sta-
Fibonacci.
Wait, am I still on? Can you guys hear me?
You're on. You're still on.
I don't know why.
Okay, my browser, my whole browser just seized up on me. So everyone just leave if you want to get off.
All right,
the
just
show,
shut down your
leave.
computer. Just shut it down. You're good.
End the show, Spencer.
I'll walk off.
Come on,
I literally
Spencer.
can't end the show. My whole browser just froze. So goodbye, everybody.
All right, adios.
I'm gonna be here by myself as I try to unfreeze the show right now. I'm just gonna cover my camera up and then
See ya.
okay. See you, Sean.